First, you need to pick a simple design, plan it out, and outline it so you'll be able to see it clearly through several layers of paper. I'm using a wax-covered paper that's made specifically for making stencils. I have an X-Acto blade and I'm going to cut all around the outside edge of my design. I find it easier when you have an X-Acto blade to pull along the lines. I use my fingers to feel along the edges to see where I've cut and look for places that I may have missed. Be careful as you're cutting to keep your stencil paper lined up over your drawing. If they shift while you're cutting things out, your design won't come out the way you planned. Stencils are a great example of positive and negative space. I'm cutting out my shape, and the stencil that I leave behind is a negative, and that is how I'm going to spray paint my design. I want to add some shading to my design to give it a little bit more dimension, so I'm going to plan out the areas that I'm going to spray paint with a darker color. I'll need to make a second stencil or layer for these areas. I had a few spots where these colors or shapes touched, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't cut those areas, so I colored them purple. As I cut out my next stencil, I'm going to avoid those areas. I'm just cutting out with this layer the shapes that I colored in yellow for my shadows. Now you can see how the layers that I've cut out line up on top of the design. Alright, here comes the fun part. I'm using chalk spray, so it won't be permanent. I'm going to start with my base layer. I'm using white. Ta-da! Now you can see why I needed a second layer. I have the outline or silhouette of the swan, the crane, but you can't see the details. So when I add the blue, I get a nice shadow effect, and you can see the design much better. So this was my first attempt at stencil art, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out.